Hey, what's up everybody? In this video, I'm going to review Exasperated Kylo Ren from the Star Wars series. This Zoom came out in May 2024 and has a drop rate of 42.86%, which is a little bit lower than Captain Phasma. His ability description is clear zooms in diagonal lines and in a cross shape. The current gameplay that you're currently watching right now is a skill level 1 game demonstration played with the 5-4 boost on. So let's take a look at his stats first. In order for you to activate his ability, you're going to need to clear a total of 19 to 24 copies of him off the screen. This number will vary depending on what skill level you have him at, and 19 to 24 is considered on the higher end, but it's still doable because his ability does clear a lot of Exasperated Kylo Ren during the ability time, so it's actually not too bad. When it comes to scoring, his minimum score is 120 with a maximum score of 1198. So from a scoring perspective, it's pretty good as well. It's on the higher end when it comes to the maximum score, but you will need to get him to level 50 to maximize his scoring potential. And if you want to get him to skill level 6, you're going to need a total of 36 copies of him from the premium box or using skill tickets. So 36 is on the higher end as well. And before you go spending your skill tickets or spending all of your coins to try to get him to skill level 6, you might want to check out this video in its entirety before you do that. So let's take a look at his skill chart. Every single time you level up Exasperated Kylo Ren, two things will change. First is the skill range. It goes from extra small to extra large, and then the amount of zooms that's needed to activate his ability will start at 24 at skill level 1, and then once you get him to skill level 6, it's going to go down to 19. So the theory here is that once you get him to skill level 6, you're not only going to be able to activate more abilities per game, but during the ability time, you're going to be able to clear more zooms per ability as well. And by the way, if you guys are enjoying this type of content where I review zooms, do monthly leaks, please consider subscribing to this channel. And if you're looking for a community to join to talk about the game, consider scanning this QR code on the screen. I'm also going to have an invite link in the video description as well. So you can click on the link, you'll get a free invite to join the Discord server. Alright, so let's get back to Exasperated Kylo Ren and take a look at all 6 of the skill levels. We'll start off with skill level 1, 2, and 3, and really the takeaway here for skill level 1, the skill range is going to be extra small, skill level 2 is going to be small, and skill level 3 is going to be medium. Now it's going to require one less zoom to essentially activate the ability every single time, starting with skill level 1 at 24, 23 for skill level 2, and 22 at skill level 3. Now when it comes to the strategy, there's really 3 things you want to do. First of all, you want to burst bubbles prior to activating his ability, because whenever you activate the ability, there's actually 3 different slashes, and if you have a bubble on the screen, especially where the slash happens, you're going to get one less clear. Now the last slash, which is a cross shape, there's really nothing you could do about it because the first 2 slash, it does generate a magic bubble, and those 2 magic bubble that gets generated during the animation will get in the way for the most part. Now the second thing you want to do is you want to use the overcharge effect. And the overcharge effect essentially is you want to carry over any additional zooms that you clear that doesn't go into the charge up bar. Using the overcharge effect is very effective. You'll be able to activate more abilities per game when you do that. So a quick tutorial on that, how you do that essentially is you want to press the ability button as much as possible, especially when you are almost full on the charge up. Take a look at skill level 1 here. When I activate the ability, before anything gets cleared, my charge up is already at 25%. So essentially what this means is that I'm only going to need to clear 75% of what is needed for that skill level to activate the ability. And this is very effective. Like I mentioned, you will be able to activate a lot more abilities per game when you use the overcharge. Now there is a third tip that I want to share with you guys, but before I do that, I do want to show you a side-by-side comparison of the abilities activated at the same time. So here it is in full motion, and once this plays through, I'm going to slow it down and show you what's actually happening. So Exasperated Kylo Ren will jump out and have 2 diagonal slash. So you see here, the bubble did get in the way for skill level 2, and then finally it's the last slash, it's going to make this X shape. You could tell for skill level 1, a lot of the bubbles did get in the way, and like I mentioned earlier, there's really nothing you could do about that. The diagonal slashes will create bubbles that ultimately will get in the way, and you won't be able to maximize the amount of clears that you're going to get during this ability. But generally speaking, for skill level 1, you could expect a clear of 17, 19 for skill level 2, and skill level 3, you could expect 24. Now this number will vary depending on how many bubbles you have on the screen, and if any of those bubbles get in the way or not. So try to get rid of the bubbles as much as possible, so that way they don't get in the way during the ability time. Moving on to skill level 4, 5, and 6. Now these higher skill level will have a bigger skill range, and actually I didn't even cover the skill range here. So the skill range is in reference to the cross shape at the very end, and that's it. The diagonal slash actually doesn't change between skill level 1 through skill level 6, so those diagonal slashes will be consistent. The skill range is in reference to the cross slash at the very end, but yeah, the diagonal slash is going to be the same. Now I didn't cover the last strategy here, so I'm going to cover the third strategy that I had. Essentially is burst bubbles one at a time after the skill is completed. The reason for that is you don't want to just randomly burst all the bubbles all at once, especially if they're next to each other. You want to optimize it clear from top to bottom, left to right if you can, but if they're clustered like you see there at skill level 5, then what you want to do is you want to just burst them one at a time or from left to right and try to optimize the amount of zooms that it's going to clear. You want to essentially burst them one at a time because you want to make sure that the zooms or the bubbles touches a zoom. And if you're just bursting them really quickly, there's a chance that the bubble may not burst any zooms at all. And at these higher skill level, you could definitely expect a lot more abilities activated per game, especially at skill level 6. You see there, I just had an ability activated and my charge up was already pretty much at 90%. Every single time you activate an ability, especially at skill level 6, your charge up is likely going to be at 50% after the animation plays through, and then you burst a couple of bubbles, you should be able to get another ability back to back. And it's very common at skill level 6 that you activate the ability, especially if you're using the overcharge. You'll be able to earn a lot more coins and get a higher score compared to not using the overcharge. So it's very important when you're using Exasperated Kylo Ren to use the overcharge. Now let's take a look at a side-by-side comparison at these higher skill levels. And just like the lower skill level, I'm going to let this animation play through and then we'll take a look at it at slow motion. So take a look at the diagonal slashes. You'll notice that they're pretty random, or well, technically consistent, because they're going to be the same. They're not going to give you the exact same number because depending on if you have a bubble in the way or how the zooms are settled, they're going to be a little bit different. But take a look at the big slash here at the very end, which is the cross shape. You'll see there at skill level 6, it's a lot bigger compared to skill level 1 earlier. So this is in reference to the skill range, and this is the only difference here for the skill range. It doesn't change the diagonal slash in just this very last part, which is the X shape. And specifically for these abilities, at skill level 4, I got a chain of 26. Skill level 5, I got a chain of 28. And skill level 6, I got a chain of 32. So pretty effective, especially if you're able to activate abilities back to back. And for this example, you see there, I was really quickly able to get back into ability time for skill level 6. And that's as expected, especially if you use the overcharge effect. It's very powerful. So overall, Exasperated Kylo Ren is a very fun sim to use and very easy as well. It's not a sim where you need to set up the screen and you can activate a lot of abilities per game. Unfortunately, Exasperated Kylo Ren is not a sim that's going to earn you a lot of coins, but I think that when it comes to score, it is a very viable sim to get a decent score at the higher levels. You will need to get Exasperated Kylo Ren to skill level 6 as well, but it might not be worth it because he's such a low coin earner. There is a score challenge at the end of this month as well, so there is some trade-offs. You might want to get them, especially if you're stuck on some of the missions to skill level 6, but when it comes to coin earnings, really not that worth it. So let me show you the results that I got for all 6 of these gameplays. At skill level 1, I ended up with 1,026 coins, but only 4.8 million points. Now do keep in mind that these were mostly my first attempts for all of these skill levels. I didn't really practice with them, so they're all going to be low levels. It's not until skill level 4 where you want to start considering using the 5-4 and coin boost for this zoom. Really not worth it until you get to skill level 4. But that would mean that you have 8 copies of him, likely spending 7 skill tickets if you don't have enough coins, and I'm not sure if that's worth it for Exasperated Kylo Ren. It might be better to save your coins as well as your skill tickets, because as you can see here, even at skill level 6, the coin earnings is really not that amazing. I got 3,358 coins, but 12.7 million points, which is pretty good, but it's pretty comparable to skill level 5. So if you want a very easy zoom to use and that's very fun, maybe just stop at skill level 5. But my personal recommendation is just get him to skill level 4. It's very much sufficient, gets you a decent amount of coins, a decent amount of score, and can help you out on this month's missions. So that's my review of Exasperated Kylo Ren. I hope that you guys found this video helpful or at least entertaining. And if you would like to see more Tsum Tsum content just like this, don't forget to subscribe. And as always, thank you so much for watching.